Welcome to this weekly Sadakayan program organized by Quantum Meditation Society London, where we combine the teachings of spiritual masters with the insights gained from the latest scientific studies to draw lessons that will enrich our lives today. Today, we are discussing how to reverse aging. When I was a child, I, like many other Bengali children growing up, read this children's classic written by Sukumar Rai, who is the father of the world-renowned filmmaker Satyajit Ray, uh, where there was a character of a crow who was talking nonsense to this 7 or 8-year-old child and asked the child his age. When the child replied 7 or 8, I don't remember the exact age it was, the crow said, "Is it increasing or decreasing?" And the child was, of course, flabbergasted. He said, "What? Of course, age is increasing." Say, what? In your land, age never decreases. In our land, when you go up to 40, it starts decreasing. So, as funny and silly and ridiculous and nonsensical that may sound, today we can actually claim to have reversed our age, not our chronological age, but our biological age. So, what's chronological age and what's biological age? Both are scientifically accepted terms, not something I'm making up. Your chronological age is simply your age. You were born at a certain year and you subtract the time that's passed since today, and that will give you your age today. However, our chronological age often does not reflect the state of our bodies. There are people who are maybe 50 years old, but their physical condition may be like the condition of someone who is 30 years old, or maybe someone who is 80 years old. At the same time, there are 50-year-olds whose physical condition may be similar to that of someone who is 30 years old. And scientists have now discovered a group of markers that they use to determine what the biological condition of your body is. And by measuring those, they tell you that this is whatever your chronological age may be, this is what the condition, the state of your body tells us about your biological age. Your biological age is right now is 35. So you could be somebody 80 years old and have a biological age of 50 or 40. You could be somebody 20 years old and have a biological age of somebody in their late 40s. It's not at all abnormal to have biological ages that are 20, 30 years more or less than your chronological age. So today we want to understand how we can, of course, keep our biological age younger so that we can live more longer, more fulfilling, more healthy lives, and what not to do so that we don't age faster than we want to. So as in many things that we talk about, the scientific discoveries lead to the same things that many of the yogis and Sufis and spiritual masters have been saying for millennia. And I want to start today by showing you a photo of someone who I personally consider very interesting. Give me a second, please. Yes, so I think you see this. This man is, his name is Shivananda Baba. I hope you can see the screen. He he is he was someone born in the Sylhet region of Bangladesh. I will tell you the story of how I first heard about him. This was when I was working for the Quantum Foundation in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I heard that one day, uh, can you see the screen, by the way? I hope you can. I heard one day that uh, a yogi from West Bengal had come to our office, and he, on his own accord, found out about quantum. He heard that we also like to promote meditation, and we're trying to share the lessons of these things with people of all backgrounds. So he, on his own accord, found our office and walked up to the second floor where our chairman sits. And mm, he, by all external appearances, he looked like somebody 60 or 70 years old. He walked up the stairs with ease, without any difficulty. His cognitive abilities seemed fine. But here's what we learned, that this was in the 2000s already. He was born on 8th August 1896. So if this was 2014, then his age at that time would be 118 years old. And then at this point, this person, Baba Shivananda, has been in our office several times. He lives in Varanasi, India now, but he has visited our office 2, 3 times since then, and he's still alive, still fully active, and in good health. Other than slight hearing issues, he is in perfect good health. He has no diseases. He doesn't have diabetes. He doesn't have heart problems. All his organs are working fine. And not only is he one of the longest living people in the world, he also says that I'm one of the happiest people in the world. So super interesting, right? So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. If you want to have a look at his face, you can do it for the last time. Okay, so I we all found it fascinating that hundred and at that point maybe 118-year-old yogi had visited us. And today he's still alive, still doing everything that he has been doing. And if his memory is correct, and he was actually born in 1896, he's today 129 years old. And this is not at all, if you start digging a little deeper into the lives of um, people who led these lives of spiritual pursuit, which along with the spiritual pursuit, because you can't reach very evolved spiritual states without mastering your mind and your body first. So you have to lead a certain kind of disciplined life to get to a spiritual state, that spiritual state. So amongst those people living over a century, over 100, um, having very long lives, especially compared to the lifespan of the people of the time they're living in, uh, is not at all unusual. Uh, and now science has taught us, is showing us that actually, if human beings follow certain principles that people like Baba Shivananda had been following all along, uh, then anyone can live up to 120, maybe even longer. I'll show you one more photo, just a second. Okay, so maybe you can see this time cover. And this one says that this baby could live to be 142 years old. So now, finally, science is catching up to these to this knowledge that human beings actually have had for quite a long time. So it is normal for a human being to live up to 120 and beyond, if you follow certain principles. Um, and that is what we're going to talk about today. And the good thing is, no matter what the state of your health is now, no matter what your habits are like now, you can actually start improving them. And you can actually, as we said in the beginning of this talk, you can actually reverse the aging process. So, in order to understand aging, let's first just understand what it is that the scientists look at when they're talking about our biological age. So there are certain things. Again, let me show you a photo. Okay, so I will get to the photo in a second, but so as we get older, the way our cells function change. Okay, uh, so one way scientists find out our biological age is by doing DNA tests. And our DNAs function, DNAs do certain thing called methylation. And these methylation patterns change with age. So by testing the methylation patterns of our DNA, scientists can tell how we're aging, whether we are aging faster than our chronological age, whether we're aging slower than our chronological age, whether we are going in one direction or another. The second thing that scientists do to find out our biological health has to do with the picture that you're seeing now in my screen, on my screen. So what you're seeing on the screen are these are chromosomes. We all know about chromosomes and DNAs and genes. So what may be new to us is like chromosomes have at the end of each end certain think of it as kind of a padding that you are seeing in the light blue, and this padding is called telomere. Okay, so this padding is called telomere, and when you are born your telomere is intact, but after we are born, this telomere with the wear and tear of life, it starts getting worn off. It starts getting, I would say, like the padding starts getting thinner. And then at some point in your life, when it gets too thin that it can't really protect your cells anymore, the cell actually dies. And that is what aging is. It's your cells dying. Okay. So when somebody is dying of natural causes, somebody is dying um, of old age. That's what's happened. Like their cells are no longer functioning. The telomere has worn off and the cells have died. So scientists can now measure the length of the telomeres at the end of our chromosomes, and through that, they can tell you what your biological age is. Now, these are at the cellular chromosomal level, but also they also can look at our blood in our body fluids. There are certain markers like that can tell you what your inflammation levels are. There are certain metabolic markers like insulin or glucose. They can tell your hormone levels. And by looking at all of these things, they can tell you what your biological age is. Then there are physiological things like how your organs are working. How is your lung? Is your lung capacity intact? Is your blood pressure normal? How is your vision or hearing working? How is your cardiovascular fitness? How is your heart working? And then heart working. Then there is how much fat you have in your body as opposed to muscles. So what's the ratio between the muscles in your body and your fat? And related to this is the circumference of your waist. So if your waist um, is waist circumference is beyond a certain limit, then that's very risky, and that may indicate that you're aging very fast. And then, of course, there are cognitive things they also look at, like your memory, attention, problem-solving ability, and so on and so forth. Other things like your grip strength, speed, and so on and so forth. So there are a bunch of things that scientists look at to understand the state of your body and tell you that this is your biological age. The interesting thing is that biological age, as we said, can be very different from your chronological age, and um, even if you were aging very fast, even if your biological age was beyond what your chronological age was by 10 years, 20 years, it can still reverse it. So a few years ago, this is from a Time article that was Sunday Times article that was published in 2020. a TV channel here in the UK, they just did this very basic research with a group of people. They took a group of people and then they measured their biological age using a combination of indicators that are some of the indicators that we mentioned. And then what they did was they gave them some basic tips about food, diet, what kind of diet is good for you, and what kind of exercise is good for you. They just told them, they didn't force them to do anything. They had this thinking that makes sense to me. They were thinking that, okay, I may be able to force them to do certain things within the during this study, within the duration of this study, but after that they will have to do it on their own. So why don't I just tell them and see what they can do on their own? That way they're more likely to sustain what they're doing now. So this was a group of people, and within that group of people, every single person except one lady had biological age that was older than their chronological age. So they had aged more than what would be consistent with their chronological age. So one lady was exception. She was 67 years old, and she already had some healthy habits, like she walked quite a lot every day. She had a very impressive step count. Uh, um, this lady was, she was younger than her, the chronologically. She was 67 chronologically, but biologically she was 56. So her biological age was 11 years less than her chronological age. Everybody else was older than their chronological age, but everybody else's biological age was more than their chronological age. There was in particular a guy called Andy, a man called Andy, who was 51 years old, and his biological age exceeded his chronological age by 31 years. So his biological age was 82. So if his chronological age is 51 and if it exceeds by 31 years, then it's 82. He had the body, he was 51, but he had the body of a 82-year-old. So this is how big a difference lifestyle can make in your life. Now, the duration of the study was only 5 weeks. 5 weeks of your life is not that long if you have lived 51 years already on this planet, right? So so um so they told them about healthy food, eating more, or we all know this, eating more fruits and vegetables, eating less processed food, giving up smoking and alcohol, obviously, and that's it, basically. Eating more live food, more fruits and vegetables and beans and legumes and nuts and seeds. Majority of your food should come up from these things, and then less meat and uh, then definitely less. Cut out processed food, cut out sugar as much as you can. So they told them about food habits, and they told them about just these two things: exercise, that if you can walk, that's great. If you can walk faster and walk longer, that is even greater. That's it. So just by doing these things for 5 weeks, Mr. Andy here, so he took it seriously. I guess, sometimes when you get a number that kind of wakes you up. So I think that number that he got of this 82 biological age, maybe, maybe was a wake-up call for him. And of course, when you're a part of a study and people have their attention on you, that you're doing it as part of a group, those things affect our psychology. So he at the end of 5 weeks, what he has done is like he had increased his step count, so he was trying to walk 10,000 steps a day, which is a very good number. He had cut down on alcohol. So I guess he used to drink quite a bit. He had cut down on alcohol and then tried to eat a little healthier. And by the end of this 5 weeks, his biological age, he had cut down his biological age by 20 years. He had cut down his biological age by 20 years. 5 weeks before, the state of his body was like an 82-year-old. 5 weeks later, the state of his body was like a 62-year-old. So, and then even Linda, right? You'd think someone like Linda, who is already, she is younger than her biologically. She's already like, you'd think that, oh, okay, she's already doing a lot. So what does someone like her have to gain from something like this? But even she cut down her biological age simply by increasing her steps, increasing the speed of her steps a little bit. So as you can see, we have a lot of control over our bodies. And I wanted to present it this way because sometimes, when you look at numbers, it helps us when we quantify things, it helps motivate us because we are motivated by numbers. We want to get certain grades in exams, and we want to reach a certain level of income, and so on and so forth. So that's why I think this is a good way, because when you look at these numbers, you can when you quantify aging like this, it may help us take control over our health a little bit more, because the truth is we can't do anything without health. As I said in the beginning of this talk today, that the what I've learned in my spiritual journey is that you cannot, in order to reach very evolved spiritual states, you need to master your mind and your body. Otherwise, they disrupt the process of those being in very high vibration states. So first, the part of the journey is mastering your mind and body. This is why yoga, even though the ultimate goal of yoga is to merge your consciousness with the universal consciousness, uh, the yogis found out that no, we have to master our body, and that's why they develop all these asanas and all this different types, and the science of Ayurveda developed that talks a lot about what's good and what's not. And even if you go into different religions, Islam, for example, I didn't understand how much emphasis is put on health in Islam, and how much our halal and haram, what's halal for us to eat or drink and what is haram, has to do actually with our own health, our own nourishment. And the things that are kind of either haram or are makruh, like considered not very good, are things that are super high cholesterol, are not so good for us. And of course, we know about the ill effects of anything that's addictive, that like alcohol and smoking and so on and so forth. So so now the question is, what do we do? How can we reverse our age? Okay, so we got some hints already. Uh, So what science tells us, if you ask a scientist, the first thing he would say is like, please, 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 please be very intentional about what you eat. You can eat anything you want, anything that goes with your personal, your faith, your beliefs, your taste. It's your life, but be very intentional. And the second thing we would say is like, please don't get taken in by advertisements. Don't eat commercials. It's what my guru used to tell us. Like, eat food, eat for nourishment, eat according to what all these nutritionists are saying. And it is very basic, cut down on processed food. If you go to a department store, a superstore, anywhere in a westernized country, in an industrialized country, uh, you would the vast majority of what you'd find there are processed food. Processed food are food that are not in the state that it was found. So if you get an apple, the apple grows in the tree. If you eat an apple that's just fallen off the tree, it is not processed. It's what we call alive food, living food, which is good for you. Processed food is something that's gone through some kind of change. So if you cook the apple, if you add sugar to it and you make it into a pie, now it's become a processed food. And if you get apple pie from a store, from a grocery store, a departmental store, um, it probably has preservatives in it, so that it lasts longer. So that makes it even more processed and even more harmful. So cut down on processed food, cut down on sugar, cut down on smoke. If you have like these habits if you smoke or drink, cut down on that. If you haven't, you're lucky. Don't think they're cool. They're not. And vaping is not cool either. Vaping is not healthy for you either. Don't just don't go into that. You have much more important things to do with your life that are actually really cool. So cut down on these and then have more um, fruits and vegetables, and have things that you develop a healthy gut microbiome, that the fruits and vegetables with lots of fiber, things like yogurt, other living foods like, as I said, nuts, seeds, legumes. We are human beings, there's a little bit of a back and forth between, whether we should be vegetarians, or now there's something called the carnivores diet. Uh, we at Quantum, we're in the middle about most things, and based on our teeth, human beings are omnivores, but we are more vegetarian than more herbivores than carnivores. Okay, so make sure that you have, well, most of our teeth are like the teeth of the herbivores, and we have some like these canines here that are more more like the carnivores teeth. So, and then researchers have found that we eat way more fish and meat than we should. So most people on Earth, I think, should cut down on meat proteins for animal proteins. This can be there are nuances to the human body, so it can be different from person to person. But we talk about that another day. The differences of how our bodies are, and how we kind of need different things, and what the latest science is saying about those things. So that's food. And then second is, of course, exercise. Uh, Exercise can be super simple. Of course, we'll talk about the daily routine of Shivananda Baba, who we looked at right at the beginning. in the end of this talk. But of course, yoga developed, developed in a way uh, um, so that it is very complementary to cognitive health and long lifespans and spiritual growth. There are a lot of benefits to yoga that we're still finding out. For example, trauma experts say that yoga is very, very good for healing trauma. What's great about yoga is it's not just working on your muscles or like lifting weight and things like that, or your cardiovascular health, which the aerobic exercises help, which are all good, by the way. But yoga also deals with the flexibility of our spine, which reduces with age, and it also deals with our endocrine system so that the hormone secretions stay balanced as you age. So if you I mean I've lost count of the number of people who have healed, cured diseases that modern science still says are incurable by doing yoga, you know. So if you can develop this habit of doing yoga every day, amazing for you. In addition to that, add something aerobic like walking. Walking is the easiest thing. I would say we are lucky. I mean, for those of us who are living in London, London is what's called an urban forest. 40%, I think, I may be wrong, of London is actually green, is actually has trees. I don't know of any other city in the world which has beautiful parks like here. So take advantage of this living. If you are here, of course, you can be joining from anywhere in the world. But if you can go out in nature and walk every day, it is not only good for the state of your body, it is also good for the state of your mind and your soul. It will balance you in every way. So that's our food and that's exercise. The third thing is is breathing, which is again part of what we do, part of the whole package we're trying to share and train ourselves in doing. Breathing is very important because our cell's main food is not meat or fruits, it's oxygen. And as we have talked, as we have said in other episodes, that the vast majority of us do not get enough oxygen. Our cells are starved of adequate oxygen. Now, if you make a habit of breathing fully, when you breathe, make sure that you are letting your chest expand as much as it can. So you're not holding yourself back. Then you will automatically get used to, not artificially, just very naturally expanding your lungs when you're breathing. If you do that, like, say, 15, 16 times at a stretch every day, maybe 2, 3 times a series, 2, 3 series every day, your breathing patterns will change and you will see that your energy levels are way higher. And then number 4 is, of course, meditation. Now, meditation is um, um, is related to something we looked at today, telomeres, right? Remember, like we were looking at chromosomes and we're looking at the padding at the end of the chromosomes, right? And we were saying that the one way scientists look at the state of our body, one way they determine our biological health is by looking at the wear and tear of our telomere length. So there is now several studies that have seen that that for regular meditators, telomere length is longer than control groups, so people who are not meditators. Okay, so you can, that is why one of the reasons Baba Shivananda is 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 still active, because he meditates a lot, and we'll talk about that later. So they've seen that even a 1 month meditation retreat can, people who have done 1 month meditation retreat have longer telomeres than people who are maybe doing like on and off meditation. They've been doing for a long time, but they are not just out of a intensive 1 month retreat. So this is a direct way that shows that meditation helps prevent aging. Another thing that studies have shown meditation does is turn the genes related to stress off in your body. So those of us, there are a lot of us who are very much into genes, and genes are, and which is great. Studying genes is opening up new ways of helping ourselves, improving our health, curing diseases, which is amazing. However, this can go into extreme when we think that, oh, our genes are our destiny. Oh, everything's gene. Oh, there is a gene for diabetes. There's a gene for this kind of cancer. There's a gene for this. You're born with this gene and you'll have it. That, if you have that kind of belief, that is actually a mistaken belief. That is not true, because the gene is a possibility. Somebody who has a gene maybe has a propensity, but that doesn't mean that you will surely have it. Most of the time, the gene has to go through some what's that word, that the transformation that happens when the cells are dividing themselves, the genes are being recreated, right? In the process, sometimes the genes change a little bit, right? So then when that happens several times, that's when you will actually get the disease, not from your initial state, in the vast majority of cases. So that's where lifestyle comes in. If you live a healthy lifestyle, it is shown that that can actually turn on and turn off genes. So there's something called a discipline called epigenetics that studies how, even without changing your DNA codes, your genes can be turned off or turned on, because there are things external to the genes that actually control whether the gene is active or not. So meditation, again, this has been shown in studies that meditation turns off, studies by Dean Ornish, and his associates have shown that meditation actually turns off, and Dean Ornish have shown that meditation actually turns off genes related to stress. So managing stress is a big part of your keeping your age younger, because that is what leads to inflammation, that leads to a host of things, the stress response in our body. And meditation is, till date, relaxation meditation are the best and the direct ways of doing that. With the deep relaxation, you can actually directly switch off the stress response in your body and turn on the relaxation response, which is a deeply relaxed state. And then, because today is the beginning of Ramadan in many parts of the world, here in London, it's day 2. Fasting is also something that has various religious and spiritual traditions have obviously incorporated in their routines for millennia, and that's again something science has found is super helpful for our body. There is there's a Japanese scientist who won the Nobel Prize by because of his research on fasting. And what he found, the process, what he found is when we fast, it initiates a process in our body called autophagy, where your own cells, because they're not getting external nutrition, eat up the toxins and the harmful substances in your body. So it's a way of detoxifying your body. So that's why you will see fasting is super, super popular these days. People do all sorts of fasting, intermittent fasting, many different kinds of fasting. Some do circadian fasting, like they eat during daytime, don't eat during nighttime. So again, you have the chance, if go ahead and try it. And right now, the Muslims, everybody's doing something. Of course, it's much easier to do it. So if you have the chance to do it with your family, go ahead and do it. It will be super helpful for your body. And of course, Roja is way beyond detoxifying physically. It's really about detoxifying mentally, emotionally as well. And it feels, when I started doing it in the true spirit, it started feeling amazing every year. I hope this is just day 2, but as I progress, I start feeling lighter and lighter in my mind and body, as if I've shed some gunk, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally as well. And then the last thing I would say is social connections, that like connect connect with people, spend time with people of all ages, of all backgrounds. That is something where we're kind of going in a way where getting more and more isolated. And again, what scientists are saying, what those people who do that, this child could live till 142 years, what they're saying, or other scientists who deal with longevity and aging are saying, is that social connections are very, 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 very pivotal for your health and longevity. So those are our points. I'll just repeat it: healthy food, exercise, pranayama, um, meditation, fasting, and social connections. So related to foods, is your weight. If you eat healthy, and if you're taking most of your calorie intake in the morning, um, you have to be moderate in your calorie intake, but also have the bulk of your calorie intake should be in the morning, because you will be active when that calorie is burning up and transforming into energy, and you'll be able to burn that energy. Whereas if you're eating most of your food at night, you'll be sleeping when it's burning. So then that will be the bodies won't have anything to do with that energy, and it will store it as fat. So eat most breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper, and have your dinner early. If you can have your dinner early enough, like if you're fasting, in here in London, we're breaking our fast at about 5:45ish now. If you eat your dinner right away, which is what in Quantum we recommend, then you get to like right now you get to fast from say 6 to Seri is 4:30 onwards, right? So the fajr is at 5, so you're maybe eating somewhere at 4:30. You're still getting a decent amount of time. If you're not Muslim and you're just regular routine, still try to have your dinner as early, and keep as big a gap as you can between your dinner and your breakfast, so that your body gets a nice long stretch of time without having to worry about digesting food. Okay, you can still drink water and stuff, but that is a easy way to incorporate fasting in your daily life, and it is shown to have many mental, emotional benefits, especially for women who are of a certain age. You are approaching menopause, which can be super difficult, can be a very difficult experience for women. This kind of fasting is have shown to be super helpful for women. Again, there are nuances to it, which we can talk about another day. Okay, so this is what's recommended, and I want to, oh wow, I have taken a lot of time, and let me just end today with Shivananda Baba's routine. Okay, so he gets up at 3 a.m. You don't have to get up at 3 a.m. now. He goes to bed at 9, so he's still getting a solid 6 hours. And for someone who meditates a lot during the day, 6 hours is enough, because a lot of the functions that sleep performs is actually performed during meditation as well. Um, and then he does yoga. He does freehand exercises, and he does pranayama for 1 hour. Then he walks for 1 hour. Then his work is obviously, because he teaches meditation and he helps people. So he's during the day he's meditating a lot. He's teaching other people meditation. He's attending to the people who are coming to learn these things from him, and he's attending the people who um, who he serves people who are beggars, who have leprosy. So he takes food and stuff to them and he helps them. But that's what he's been doing during the day. And the only thing he eats are rice and roti and boiled vegetables. So he tries to keep his life as simple as he can. He is beyond material urges, and um, he doesn't even like drink milk, or even he thinks even fruit is like it's something for poor people can't afford it, so he doesn't want to have it. But that's him. But even if you follow that, like as close as to his routine, you will still get a lot of benefit. And that's so I wanted to end with that. And so this was a little boy who, as far as you know, was born in 1896 to very poor parents in Sylhet, Bangladesh. His parents and his sister were Vaishnavs. They just begged. So they believed in this philosophy where they didn't want to earn. They wanted to live on people's on alms, basically. And so they had no money, and then they gave him to a guru from West Bengal, a Vaishnav guru from West Bengal, whose name was Karanda Goswami. And at 4, but then this little boy, he came back to Sylhet when he was 6 and found that his sister had died 2 days ago, and his mom had died before sunrise that day, and his dad had died 2 hours after his mom died, and he had to um, sort of perform the final rites of, in Hinduism, like it's cremation, right? And the son has to cremate his parents. So he, as the surviving member of his parents, of his family, he had to start the cremation. He had to put the fire on. So this 6-year-old little boy had to do that for all 3 members of his family, and then he went back to um, back to his guru, who was then in West Bengal. But he turned his sorrow, his shock, into a life of value. He learned about yoga. He learned about meditation. He went through his schooling. He became enlightened. He actually came to London, and he was here in the West for 30 years. He used to do motivation speeches and stuff. And then he thought, this is all just material thing. This is giving me fame. It's not really beyond anything. And then went back to India. And today he's recognized not only by yogic circles, but the Indian government gave him It's fourth highest civilian honor, which is the Padma Shri, and people are interested in him, and he's 129 and disease free and calls himself the happiest man on earth. So we can try to aspire for something like that. Okay, apologies for a long speech today, but I hope you found something interesting in it. I am just going to start the relaxation meditation. As always, give me a second. If you have time, please attend the meditation. If you don't, I apologize because I've actually taken the whole hour today. I deeply apologize. Um, so if you have time, do it. If you don't, I apologize for that. I hope you can do it some other time. Okay, give me a second, as always.